surprise of divorce, the breaking point, where clarity begins and survival ends. You don't just wake up and leave. Divorce doesn't start with paperwork. It starts with erosion, slow, silent, and internal. You compromise, you shrink, you disappear, until one day you realize you're surviving, not living. That realization is not weakness, it's clarity. Divorce is not failure. Let's be direct. Staying in a relationship that drains you is not loyalty. It's self-abandonment. Divorce is not quitting. It's choosing truth over performance, peace over pretense, healing over hiding, the emotional load you've been carrying. Before you ever say, "I want out," you've already carried the weight of two people, managing moods, absorbing blame, silencing your needs, rationalizing dysfunction. You've been gaslit into believing your pain is an overreaction. It's not. It's a signal. The conversations that didn't work. You tried to communicate. You said, "I'm unhappy." They said, "You're the problem." You stopped talking, and that silence became your prison. The breaking point is not always dramatic. Sometimes it's a quiet dinner with no words. Sometimes it's your child asking, "Why are you always sad?" You realize this isn't love. It's emotional survival. The decision to leave. Leaving isn't impulsive. It's strategic. It's necessary. You don't leave because you stopped loving them. You leave because you started loving yourself. What you need to hear right now: you're not crazy. You're not weak. You're not selfish. You're allowed to want more. You're allowed to leave. You're allowed to choose yourself. You don't need permission. You need clarity. Start here. Write it down. Document your truth. No edits. Tell one person. Someone safe. Someone who listens. Breathe deeply, slowly. Regulate your nervous system. Visualize peace. What does freedom look like for you? Don't rush. You don't need to solve everything today. You just need to start. Pain is not the enemy. It's the signal. It's telling you something has to change. And change is where healing begins. The fallout and the fog. What happens after you say, "I'm done"? Collision, the emotional whiplash. The moment you decide to leave, you expect relief. But what comes first is chaos. You've spent months, maybe years, building up the courage to walk away. And now that you've said the words, the ground beneath you shifts. You feel guilt. You feel grief. You feel fear. You feel free. And then you feel ashamed for feeling free. This is normal. This is the fallout. Your brain is rewiring. Divorce is not just a legal process. It's neurological. You've been wired to anticipate your partner's reactions, moods, and needs. Now that wiring is breaking down, and your brain is scrambling to find new patterns. This is why you feel disoriented, why you forget things, why you cry at random, why you feel like you're floating through fog. It's not weakness, it's biology. Pensive face grief without a funeral. You're grieving someone who's still alive. You're mourning a future that won't happen. You're burying a version of yourself that no longer fits. But there's no ceremony. No condolences, no rituals, just silence, and 1,000 invisible losses. This is why divorce grief is so complex. It's not just the person you lost. It's the identity, the dreams, the routines, the shared language. Firecracker, the guilt trap. Guilt will come in waves. Did I try hard enough? What will people think? Am I ruining my children's lives? Was I the problem? Here's the truth. Guilt is a reflex. It's your brain trying to make sense of disruption. But guilt is not a compass. It doesn't point to truth. It points to conditioning. You were taught to prioritize others, to endure, to stay. Now you're unlearning that. And guilt is part of the detox. The reactions you'll face. People will respond in 3 ways. The supportive few, they'll listen, they'll validate, they'll remind you who you are. The silent majority, they'll say nothing, they'll watch, they'll judge quietly. The critics, they'll question your decision, they'll project their fears, they'll call it selfish. You don't owe anyone an explanation. Your healing is not a group project. The fog phase. This phase is disorienting. You'll question everything. Did I make a mistake? Should I go back? Will I ever feel normal again? You'll miss things you didn't expect to miss. The smell of their shampoo, the sound of their keys in the door, the way they made coffee. This is not a sign to return. It's a sign that you're human. Hammer and wrench what you must avoid. In the fog, you're vulnerable. Here's what to avoid. Rebound relationships. You're not ready. You're escaping. Over-explaining your decision. You don't need to justify your healing. Seeking validation from your ex. They can't give you what you're looking for. Comparing your journey. No 2 divorces are the same. Here's how to navigate the fog with clarity. Create structure. Your nervous system craves routine. Build one. Limit contact. Emotional detox requires distance. Journal daily. Track your thoughts. Watch your growth. Find a therapist or coach. You need a guide, not just a friend. Celebrate small wins. You got out of bed. You made dinner. That counts. Light bulb what you need to hear right now. You're not broken. You're not alone. You're not failing. You're healing. You're rewiring. You're rebuilding. This fog will lift. This grief will soften. This guilt will fade. And what's waiting on the other side is clarity. The fallout is messy. The fog is real. But both are temporary. You are not defined by your divorce. You are defined by what you do next. This is not the end. It's the transition. And transitions are where transformation begins. The mirror and the map. Recovery begins with reflection. Reinvention begins with direction. Step 1. Face yourself. After the dust settles, the silence gets louder. No more distractions. No more emotional negotiations. Just you. You look in the mirror and realize you've been performing, not living. You've been surviving, not thriving. This moment is uncomfortable but necessary. Before you rebuild, you must reconnect with the person underneath the compromise. Step 2. Expect identity disruption. Divorce doesn't just end a relationship. It disrupts your sense of self. You weren't just a partner. You were a role, a routine, a reflection of someone else's needs. Now that structure is gone, and what's left is a blank slate. This is not a crisis. It's an opportunity to redefine who you are on your terms. Step 3. Reclaim your voice. In unhealthy dynamics, your voice gets diluted. You learn to speak carefully to avoid conflict, to keep the peace. Now you unlearn that. Reclaiming your voice means saying what you mean, naming what you need, setting boundaries without apology. Your voice is your compass. Use it. Step 4. Build your recovery map. Healing requires structure. Here's your framework. Emotional inventory. Name what you feel, Grief, relief, anger, hope, value reset. What matters now? What did you compromise that you want back? Boundary audit. What's no longer negotiable? Support system check. Who's safe? Who's draining? Vision crafting. Define your next chapter. Personally, professionally, emotionally. Step 5. Take tactical action. This phase is not just emotional, it's strategic. Work with a professional. Therapy or coaching accelerates clarity. Journal consistently. Track patterns, progress, and insights. Create solo rituals. Reconnect with yourself through daily routines. Limit digital noise. Social media distorts reality. Express creatively. Art, writing, movement, healing needs outlets. What you need to know. You're not lost, you're rediscovering. You're not broken, you're rebuilding. You're not behind, you're realigning. You're not alone, you're awakening. This phase isn't about perfection. It's about presence and progress. The mirror shows you what's been buried. The map shows you where to go next. This is the most pivotal phase of divorce recovery. Not because it's easy, but because it's honest. You're not just healing, you're becoming. And that's the real prize, the rebuild. When clarity becomes structure and survival becomes strategy. Rebuilding is not starting over, it's starting intentionally. You're not starting from scratch. You're starting from experience. You've learned what doesn't work. You've learned what you won't tolerate. You've learned what you need to thrive. Rebuilding isn't about replacing what was lost. It's about creating what was missing. The 4 pillars of rebuilding. To rebuild effectively, you need structure. These 4 pillars form the foundation of a stable post-divorce life. Boundaries. Boundaries are non-negotiable. They protect your time, energy, and emotional health. Set clear limits around communication with your ex, co-parenting dynamics, family involvement, work-life balance, emotional availability. Boundaries aren't barriers, they're filters. Use them. Purpose. Divorce strips away roles. Now is the time to reconnect with meaning. Ask, what makes me feel alive? What did I abandon to keep the peace? What impact do I want to have? Purpose doesn't need to be grand. It needs to be honest. Structure. Your nervous system craves predictability. Routine creates stability. Build structure into your day. Morning rituals. Focused work blocks. Evening wind-down routines. Weekly self-check-ins. Structure isn't rigid. It's restorative. Connection. Divorce can isolate you. Rebuild relationships intentionally. Focus on safe, reciprocal connections. Community aligned with your values. Professional support, therapy, coaching, mentorship. Connection isn't about replacing what was lost. It's about surrounding yourself with what's healthy. Common pitfalls to avoid. Rushing into new relationships. Overcommitting to prove your worth. Seeking validation from your ex. Ignoring emotional triggers. Healing requires discipline. Avoid shortcuts. Tactical steps to begin. Audit your environment. Remove what drains you. Add what energizes you. Redefine your goals. Make them personal, not performative. The prize. What you gain when you stop abandoning yourself. Divorce is not just loss, it's leverage. Yes, divorce is painful. It's disruptive. It forces change. But it's not just about what ends. It's about what begins. When done with clarity and intention, divorce delivers 4 critical outcomes. Freedom, the space to breathe. In unhealthy relationships, you adapt to survive. You shrink. You monitor. You endure. Post-divorce, you exhale. You speak freely. You move without tension. You stop managing someone else's emotional volatility. This is freedom, not just physical but psychological. Clarity, the power to see yourself. Divorce removes noise. It strips away roles, routines, and emotional distortion. What's left is truth. You begin to see what you value, what you need, what you'll no longer tolerate. Clarity isn't just insight, it's direction. Strength, the confidence you build. Divorce forces you to make hard decisions, to stand alone, to rebuild from zero. And in doing so, you discover resilience. You handled the silence. You faced the judgment. You rebuilt. This strength is earned. It's quiet. It's permanent. Emotional intelligence, the upgrade. Leaving dysfunction teaches you patterns. Why you tolerated certain behaviors. Why you ignored red flags. Why you silenced your needs. You learn to regulate your emotions. Communicate clearly. Set boundaries. Choose relationships with discernment. This is emotional maturity, and it changes everything. Self-respect, the non-negotiable. At the core of divorce is one decision. You stopped abandoning yourself. You chose peace over performance. You chose truth over tradition. You chose yourself. That choice redefines how you parent, partner, lead, and live. Self-respect is not selfish. It's foundational. What life looks like after divorce. You sleep better. You speak with clarity. You trust your instincts. You attract healthier relationships. You pursue goals that reflect your values. You stop apologizing for your standards. Or you're no longer surviving. You're leading. The prize of divorce isn't the absence of pain. It's what pain reveals. Who you are. What you deserve. What you're capable of. You didn't fail. You chose truth. You chose peace. You chose yourself. And that choice is the beginning of everything. The turning point. Divorce is not failure. It's a decision to stop abandoning yourself. You've faced the discomfort. You've endured the silence. You've rebuilt with intention. Now you stand in clarity. The real prize isn't just peace, it's power. It's the ability to live without shrinking, without performing, without apology. You didn't just leave a marriage. You reclaimed your identity. This isn't the end. It's the beginning of a life aligned with truth, values, and self-respect. Own it. Build from it. Lead with it. That's the prize.